Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Manoj, Jana. I'm from India. Uh, I'm a BioFolk founder and CEO, that is a totally scientific community. Dr.
Waldorf, yes.
Yeah, Dr. Buldov, our guest speaker from LMU Munich, and one of the brilliant mind in virology immunology. Once again, thank you, Dr. Buldov, for joining us, for sharing your thoughts in science, sharing your thoughts in research. Can you please tell us about your academic journey and what motivated you to pursue the science?
Okay.
Over to
So
you.
thank you a lot for your invitation. Yes, so thank you a lot for your invitation. It's great to share my insights with you and with the community. So I started off with a bachelor in biotechnology at the University of Applied Science in Mannheim in Germany, and I figured out that biotechnology was not my choice because it was too much technology, less bio. So I switched and did a master in biomedicine then at the University of Mainz, and then decided to do a PhD at the University of Heidelberg. And there I stayed for a short period of postdoc and went on to Frankfurt to be a staff scientist, and then moved to the LMU Munich to then start my own lab. And here in Germany, you have some kind of qualification program to become a professor. So I did this one as well, and sort of now I'm sort of established group leader at the LMU Munich. And why I started with science is actually very funny. I had my major in school was biology.
Okay.
I do some cross discipline, and then I sort of then discovered biotechnology, but at the end it wasn't my real choice.
Okay, that's a really nice really inspiration journey means from your since childhood to today where you stand now. And next question is, do you means what does a typical day in your life as a scientist look like?
So if you have asked me this question a couple of years back, my answer would have been different because I have now transitioned into a group leader position. So my daily life is not anymore at the bench; it's rather at the sort of at the desk. So I really do, things like writing emails, answering emails, organizing sort of appointments, meeting my group members, meeting collaboration partners, writing grants, writing papers, preparing for lectures and giving lectures. So that's now more or less what I'm doing currently. But I still sometimes I still, you know, stay in the lab and do some little pipetting as well.
Oh, that's nice. Means you are now group leader and you're doing pipetting. That's That's totally interesting. Means if anyone person reach a level, they are totally involved in academia. They are not involved in research. Means few scientists are involved in research because everyone is involved, depend on his team and his group and his student. But you are totally doing pipetting that day. That's quite interesting. It's impressive also. Let's. My next question is that,
Pipetting, yeah.
yeah. My next question is that,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
The network error, I think. I don't know. Yeah. My next question is, what challenges did you face in your early career research? Means after PhD or after when you start your group, which type of challenges you have and how you overcome them?
Um, so working during a PhD has, of course, different challenges than as a postdoc and as a group leader. So for PhD, I think, and also for postdoc, you rather focus on the scientific part. So if, for example, you have experiments which are not working and so on. So you do troubleshooting a lot and so on. So that's rather the problems and challenges you are facing. The challenges I'm now facing as a group leader, I have to manage a team and I have to sort of organize everything to also to get money for the research. So it's different kind of challenges which I'm facing as a group leader than what scientists do face as sort of junior researchers.
Yeah. Here is Dr. Das from Technical University of Munich. He's a staff scientist and group leader from Technical University of Munich, Germany. Welcome, Dr. Das. Over to you. Dr. Das, you are in mute.
Yes.
Yeah, over to you.
Hi. Thank you for joining. And I think Manoj have already told you about our initiative and our what we are trying to do. From my side, I'm involved in sort of guiding him and guiding the whole team, sort of an advisory role. And I work here in TU Munich as a staff scientist, and in our group we do host microbe interactions, human microbiome, and study how it impacts in sort of inflammatory diseases. So that is what we do. And so how are we now proceeding, Manoj?
Yeah,
Is
it's
there
over to
any...
your questions, but it's a little bit
Okay.
tough.
Mhm. I mean, we have certain questions prepared, and we had sort of in before me. Did you ask any questions, or it was
Yeah,
just
yeah,
introduction?
I laugh.
Mhm. Okay. So I think maybe we start a bit about with your journey. No, Hannah. Um,
We had this
you had
question
a question, I
already,
guess.
I think.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll already discuss
Um,
all.
I would say if you say one thing to what is your main advice to your students, for example, when you give them any advice about career in a short way, what is generally your advice?
My advice is that they should think out of the box. So usually you have in your PhD, I mean, I don't have postdocs yet, but in your PhD, you are like in a microcosm. So you should, I think, if you want to move ahead, you should think out of the box and you should do what you're really, what you really like. You should
Mm-hmm.
not be, you really should think, sit down and think, is this not something I would really love to do? Would I burn for it? Because only if you have the passion to do it, you will
Mm-hmm.
be successful.
Okay. That's nice. Yeah. Um, I think it also depends, right? I think a lot of people do need. I mean, there are students who need more guidance, and there's students who are more independent, right?
Yeah.
So, how do you balance that in terms of how do you um, how do you balance between somebody who would crave for more guidance and more push versus someone who would maybe take that push as no, no, I don't need you to do so much micromanagement, rather I just be more independent. How do you balance that?
Mm, I mean, I don't really make a difference among my students. So what I do offer every student is that we have a one-to-one meeting. I mean, I don't have a very big group. I have a rather small group. So I
Mm-hmm.
have one-to-one meetings with the students and they can do with this time whatever they need for. So for example, if it's a student which needs more guidance, we rather than discuss technical, aspects rather than, making visions for how to move on and so on. So every student basically uses the time really individually, I would say.
Yeah, I think I have a feeling as well that I do have students in our group where I see that they need more guidance. And sometimes in certain discussions, we would also have that coming up from them. I would say more indirectly rather than directly, and then that gives me the feeling that yes, I mean, this person probably does not want more guidance, not guidance, but they want to be left alone, so to say. And then some people who really need, they ask for it. They would then at the end of the day be a little bit disappointed by, I'm not getting enough push. I don't know what to do. So that's I think always the case, and this is very sort of these people always exist in the same mix, and it's I think very hard
Yeah.
to navigate otherwise,
Yeah, but I
Um,
think also having an open door policy, as I do have it, is, essential. That
yeah,
even, if there's a student who needs more guidance, they know that if I'm available, they can easily come and, talk to me if they have some urgent problems which they think
yeah.
they cannot solve themselves. I think that
Mm,
might also do the trick.
okay. Yeah. Now, I think more sort of set of relevant questions to uh, to you for our initiative, or more relevant to our initiative, would be questions on how you select students and what you look for in students. But before that, I would probably talk a bit about like how I started. Sort of it would
Mhm.
be something which I don't know if you know. So I actually come from India, the same sort of area as Manoj comes from, and in 2010 I first came out in from a master thesis in ETH Zurich in salmonella biology, and then so that was sort of my uh, leap to European science from India. I would say for me the hardest was to s- sort of adapt into the system, and it was very challenging to really sort of see how science is done here and really adapt to it, because it is much different. And coming directly into ETH Zurich was really a big step, and I had to work a lot to really um, up my standards. So that paid off, and then I moved to do my PhD in Würzburg in infection biology of Staphylococcus aureus, and then I moved for my postdoc to a different field completely, human microbiome, because I was interested in commensals. And then after that, I was working as an independent scientist for 2 years in Bern, University of Bern, and then I moved here to TU. So this was sort of change, and working in different places brought me here. Um, but I could make the leap in the beginning, but certain students in India do not know how to, and they don't.
Mm.
They are always confused. What do you look for? What do people look for in students, and
Mm.
specifically from for international students? So, what would be your perspective?
Right. So that's actually a very good question, because what I have experienced, it was last year when I was looking for, so I had an open PhD position and I advertised it, on social media, and then I got a lot of international applications. And what I actually, I got a lot. So I got, almost 200 applications internal, like in total. So how do you screen for those students you would like to interview? So basically, I screened for people who really did the effort, read the advertisement, and also looked what my lab is doing and made a personalized application. Because I had a lot of, so I'm of course you have to do some kind of selection. Probably there have been very bright students regardless of where they came from or which kind of background they have from, but if they don't do the effort and make a personalized application, sorry, that was exactly those applications which directly sort of I kicked off, so I discarded them and didn't look into it further, even though they might have been brilliant students. So that was one criteria which I made. And then of course, I looked into, like their references, and then I chopped it down to 10 people. And then at that level, it was more like a personal thing. So, because I have a team, I involved my team, and for me, the biggest asset is when, we have some kind of harmony in the team. Because only if we harmonize, I mean, you don't have to be best friends, but only if we harmonize, then also science moves forwards, because you are a team. You really think as a team, you work as a team and act as a team. And so the last step was really on a personal level to think, okay, who might on a personal level fit? But the others were really rather, screening for who did the effort. And that's what I would really emphasize for students who want to make the step, that they take the time and not make a ChatGPT version of an application, which is very broad, or even, saying, okay, I want to come to the LMU Munich. And then I say, okay, great. But then you don't want to come to my lab. You just want to come to the institution. And that's what I had really the great experience with, that people don't make the effort.
Yeah, that is true. I think I always also advise people, and have advised, Manoj has also got the same advice, that do a personalized application for every application. You have to be convincing in a short amount of time that you're genuinely interested. And genuine interest, I think, shows. When I read an application, if it's genuinely written, I always know it somehow. I
Yeah.
think it comes from this, I guess it comes with the experience, that we generally see a genuine application and it's clear that it's a genuine application. And sometimes some of the applications are very, very interesting. They have an interesting take on your or research, or the application is really interesting. So I think those people stand out. That is true. And I think
Yeah.
this is what I say, that stand out,
Yeah, you have to stand out, because you have a lot of people who want to apply. You have to stand out, and that's what I always sort of gave as a feedback. I mean, you should also think yourself, what would be the interesting thing I would like to do? It's not that I just want to get out. I want to get to Europe, for example, or whatever. Really think also on the topic, because if you not like the topic, if you don't burn for it, you will not be successful. And then, it's harder, really. It's rather depressing than at the end, because you changed, for example, a country, you tried to adapt to a country, and then you're always having failures because you're not really like your topic. So I think these are also the homeworks you have to do in advance to really know, okay, what is the thing I would really like to do? Because once sort of my former my mentor said, it's like a marriage. It's marriage on short time. You're bound to a specific group, to a specific person, to a specific topic. And if you don't like each other, it will be hard.
Yes. No, that is true. I think, but that is, I think, that's a barrier. I feel international students have to work harder also, to get noticed. And we do have students around us. We have master students who may approach you that, hey, really, I'm interested, because they've always been seeing you, or had your lectures, or things like that. There's a bit of a familiarity, but international students do have that challenge of suddenly being in somebody completely unknown, and hey, this is me, take me. But that you need to break the barrier and sort of get noted.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I definitely agree.
Yeah. In the same note, I think people would also be interested in, what do you look for in the CV? So what is, if you look at a CV, what is an impressive CV for you?
So what I personally dislike, I would rather do it this way. What I personally dislike, if people, so I had applications where they were writing that, they can handle a microwave. So I would really I would really emphasize only to put, like really, and that's what also tailoring your application to whatever is they are looking for for the applicant. That if they are requiring different specific methods or specific knowledge, that if you have this kind of knowledge, that you emphasize this, but that you don't just generally put everything in there. And especially if you're sort of an undergraduate, you should really try to condense your CV. Because I mean, you have, of course, the longer you stay in academia, of course, you have done a lot of things, then of course your CV increases in size. But if I see already from undergrads, like that they sort of artificially, sometimes it is like artificially expand their CV. You should do it crisp, like 2 pages maximum. Do really the most important things with which you think you will really, convince the sort of not the jury, but the PI, like the principal investigator, to really pick you or to give you at least a chance for interview. So that's, I think, what should be taken into consideration, because we don't have, as I said, I had almost 200 applications. I individually screened and I didn't have any person in between doing the screening for me. So of course I have limited time to read. And if you have, like very extensive CVs, which don't not even, show that there's some kind of overlap to what we are doing, I think that's then rather a waste of time for the persons as well, because I mean, of course, they do invest time in making their CVs.
Yeah. Do you remember any, or do you have in your mind suddenly that, oh, I actually remember a CV which was really striking to me, or interesting to me, or funny to me, or sometimes CVs do. I have come across really nice ones, really nice in a way that is sometimes, it gives you something different.
Yeah, as I said, so this microwave thing was new to me. So then I was really laughing a lot because I never really wrote those things even myself. I mean, so really focusing on this more specific stuff, I think would be more essential.
Okay. And also, there is a, I don't know how much you're aware of that. There is a debate across a lot of South Asian countries, I would say. I feel more of that because I am from South Asia. I can compare that with European research, and I'm also a bit familiar with research in US as well. That there's a lot of focus on publication. What is your take on this? Because I think science should be done for the topic, not for just because I want to. So I have a paper in mind. I just let's make a paper. Rather, let's discover something, and then eventually we'll end up in a paper. So, and specifically for young scientists who in their like masters. So I call them young scientists because they are working in the labs as well. They get too much focused in certain regions of the world on this. So what is your take on this?
I think you cannot, in the beginning, you should not aim for a manuscript or a publication. I think that's the wrong way, because you never know, especially if it's like a wet lab, sort of approach. Things can go wrong in the lab. It can get into a dead end road. So I think you should come up first with an idea for a project, and then, if it turns out to be successful, then of course that's the time when you then should like strategically think of, okay, what kind of experiments I do need to have a publication. And what I usually hate, so in Germany, it's not, or at least at the LMU Munich, it's not like that, that you have to have a paper to really graduate as a PhD student. Of course, it would be much better. But there it's rather, that you grow as a scientist, that you grow and learn troubleshooting and so on. And what I usually see in those kind of, programs where, you have to really have a number of publications, that at the end, the quality is not really good. And I would rather pick quality instead of quantity.
Yeah, that's true. I always also have the same view as well. But I think so. Do you look for, let's say there are two applications, one has a publication, one not. Do you think that is a make or break, or do you think no, that is one of the aspects, and I will look for other things?
I think it's an asset if you have already a publication, but I would not say that it is a sort of a criteria I'm really picking on. I think if you look in, like, take the full picture, then I think if you know everything looks great, and then you also have already the chance to have publications before. I think that's really an asset to be considered for an interview. But as I said, in the interview stage, you start from zero again. Then everyone who has been picked for an interview basically has the equal chances to get this one position. And then I think it's rather to convince, you know, like the team or whoever is deciding, you know, that you are exactly the perfect, you know, fit. Then I think it's rather as I said, the personal level which is deciding. But to get into this kind of step, I think having a publication is of course a benefit, but then the full package needs to be, you know, really good.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, and this is sort of it's a bit troublesome right now in South Asia. We have people, new students, they hear that. I think what they do is that they just hear that, oh, you need a publication to go step out of the country and things like that. And some people do know that shouldn't focus, and there are, I would say, a lot of significant number of people who really focus on this and try sort of get fixated on this. That is, I think, I've always said the same thing, that it's always your quality of your application in overall terms rather than publications. I think that is important. And specifically people who are just coming from master thesis, 6 or 9 months master thesis. I mean, it takes a lot of work and years of work sometimes to get a paper out, right? And that is not expected at all in this case. Also, a very interesting perspective is people often say that I need more experience before I start a PhD. Or what I did was I did not wait. I didn't want to wait. I did my master thesis. I used my master thesis as the stepping stone to apply, and then I got interview, and then I immediately started. And in India, for example, also in other countries in South Asia, they have sometimes these project positions where you can just work as a research assistant on a project, and maybe for a couple of years. People, I think the system is a bit different, so they have opened these positions which are temporary, and there people work. They say, oh, I will join because I need a couple of more years of experience. Is that necessary, or what is your take on?
So I have actually seen that on those applications coming, especially from Asian people, that you know, they do these kind of research positions before they then apply for a PhD. In Europe, it's not that the case. So you really, as you also pointed it out, you actually directly head into a PhD with your master. So I think it has advantages and also disadvantages, because I think the longer then you do these kind of research positions, of course, you do it because you want to learn something, but the longer you do it, I think then, you know, then the question is, okay, why are you then now want to pursue a PhD? So that's rather the question. You know, if you do it for, let's say, 1 year or 2 years, I think that's okay. But the longer you do these kind of positions, I think, then I would ask as a PI, okay, and why do you now want to do a PhD? What is now the reason why you want to sort of do it? And I think then it's harder to convince the people that you now really, you know, are ready to do so. So I mean, I also stepped directly from my master's into PhD, so there was no gap in between.
I think some people do have the perspective that, yeah, I mean, let's say I'm not getting it right now, so let's join something, keep on doing work, keep on doing research, and then within that time I'm working there, I take my time out, apply, and when I get it, I go. I mean, I would say that's not a bad perspective. If you're keeping on working, you're utilizing your time, and maybe some people are financially obligated to do that, and things like that. But are you right? I mean, if you do it for too long, and then and I think still, if somebody is doing that, focus should still be to apply really a lot, and in a way that you cater the applications. But sometimes I think that balance gets tipped, that people don't get the time because they some labs, they just make them work so much, and then when will you really apply, right? So that becomes again the issue. So I think this is a very fine balance which they have to work on if they take on this kind of positions.
Right. I mean, there have been also, I know examples also in Germany that they have been, like a technician first, or they took a technician job after having their master. But as I said, I think it's always the time frame which you should consider. Because then also, if you have done something completely different for your job, then than what is required for the PhD, I think then, having the right fit is then hard because you are already you have focused too much on the past years on doing something specific, and which then probably would not fit into the PhD position.
And what is your advice to more, since we're focusing on that area of the world, what is your advice to globally developing countries, like students from globally developing countries, trying to come and be part of European visa?
I mean, there are, of course, possibilities that you already, can get some kind of internship-like positions where you can, have the experience, because sometimes, of course, it's a cultural shock as well. I mean, especially Germany is probably much more difficult for Indian or Asian people to live in and to adapt to. So I think if you have the chance, and these are easy, to get, so they are exchange programs and so on. So I would always recommend people to get these kind of, positions or grants, short-term grants. Even if you then have the impression, okay, it was not good for me, or that topic was not good, the lab was not good, the surrounding was not good, but it's something you have on your CV. It's something which is a benefit because it shows that you have been active. You have tried to make some kind of difference or different things than others, and you had made the effort to apply for like a scholarship or so to collect experience, to get experience in a different area of the world.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe we have, I think, very few minutes left, but maybe we'll have a few really, I think, personalized question in the last few minutes. I would like to ask you what was the most challenging part of your scientific career? Was there any big challenge you faced or overcome? This would probably inspire people who are listening.
Right. So I think I remember one time when I was already a postdoc that the experiment, it was straightforward experiment, but the outcome failed always. So I did it for more than half a year. And then I was already very frustrated. And I think that is something people have to learn, that even if things don't work, you should not, you should try to be optimistic. Because at the end, if then one time it worked, and that was enough to have then all my, technical replicates and so on done in this one moment, and it was a PNAS paper. So what I want to emphasize with that is you should not give up too early. You should be persistent, and you also try to have, you should be optimistic, because if you're not optimistic and rather pessimistic, then academia is not the right path for you.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think we've always we've had those things every once in a while, and yeah, sometimes those are very grueling moments. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Second last question would be, what do you see like major challenges in your particular field in the next, let's say, a couple of decades or so? And where is this going?
I think what we have underestimated is like all the, omics tools which are now increasing, all the bioinformatician tools which are increasing. And that is something particularly which I haven't learned. I mean, I'm hardcore, like a molecular biologist doing bench work, or I did a lot of bench work. So I think that is something people should look into, because I think this will become also more important, like AI and so on, to adopt to those things quite early. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think this is, I mean, as someone from a microbiome group, I can tell you that that's definitely the case, that we have so much omics we have, and it becomes harder at one point because data analysis is not easy for that. So definitely, that is a major challenge. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, the final question would be, A fun question. If not a scientist, what would you have been?
That's an easy question because I would have been a veterinarian. Because
Okay.
actually that was something which I was also doing practical still when I was still in school. But then at some point I transitioned into I want to do science.
Okay. So you love animals, I would say.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Do you have pets at home?
Actually, we do have a guinea pig. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. I do like guinea pigs as well, but I think I'm more of a person. I'm a more of a person who needs an active pet, so I like dogs. So yeah, that's nice.